is this all about?
I don't know.
What's your friend's name?
Shmuel.
Jesus loves you, Shmuel.
When the idea first occurred to me, and this all, I mean, it was kind of this moment, I guess, of inspiration where a lot of the things came together relatively quickly on a subway ride. I knew that it was a film about science and about religion, and I knew that it required a certain degree of orthodoxy to up the drama and actually make for an interesting conversation. It required somebody for whom delving into the world of science was actually an existential threat to not only their worldview, but their sort of belonging in their community. Then as I went down the rabbit hole of studying Hasidic culture specifically, and mysticism and Kabbalah and these ideas as well, you start to look at the Jewish ethos of death and sort of these mystical understandings of the soul. And I really just, was trying to work it to a place where I assumed there'd ultimately be maybe a crossover between the science and the religion. And Géza does have thoughts about some really, really interesting perspective on why this is very specifically Jewish.
So generally speaking, Judaism, I think it's actually more open to science than some other religions. I don't think the rabbis were ever threatened by any sort of scientific discoveries. I don't think we should buy into this seesaw idea, is that the more you know, the less you believe, or the less you know, the more you believe. It's actually, the universe is so complex, the more you know, the more wonder you have about the universe. And I guess that's what you thought in Hasidic philosophy or worldview in particular, is this idea that the body, you see, we used to say we have bodies, but truly we are bodies, and there is a difference between these two statements. In other words, in Hasidic philosophy, the body has just as much divinity than the soul. It's just not revealed. So unlike the general notion is that, soul and spirit is something so valuable and the body is just matter, it's just a sack. That's not how we view it. And so this whole, losing the body, especially the body of a spouse, is just devastating. So this is besides science and religion, the movie also pitches together or against each other death and humor, which is actually works much better than you would think first.
Yeah, I mean, I think at first it's something he doesn't want to get involved in, but as Albert gets to know Shmuel a little better, he starts to sympathize with him, and he's curious just to figure out the science of it too. He's not an expert in what he's they're sort of trying to figure it out at the same time. It's not like Albert knows everything and imparts it onto Shmuel. They sort of have to do the research together. So yeah, he's somebody who's had some sort of loss. You're not exactly sure what, but he's adrift in the same way that Shmuel is, I suppose, probably for a longer time. So in a way, I guess I'm further along in my grief than he is. This is a very fresh wound, whereas mine is a long, festering, life-destroying wound. Yeah.
I write with a longtime collaborator, co-writer Jason Begay, and he is not Jewish, and I was brought up Jewish, and it was really, I think, a beautiful and useful part of the process to have the goy in the room be saying, I don't think we need that explained. I think that my instinct is wanting to share the tradition and be honest with tradition is almost to teach, but my instinct as a filmmaker is to not exposit, is to keep that stuff out of it. And I think that when you're not explaining it, it's mysterious and it's beautiful and it just feels more of a part of the world. And so Jason was really a huge check on that. Like, I need to know that. I don't need to know that. I don't need to know that. Things that might spark the imagination or curiosity or seem so mysterious or specific or foreign, it's very easy to these days, to to Google or to learn or to research or to investigate if it's interesting. And I think that, you know, we realized that a lot. We had Albert to be able to ask questions of Shmuel, but from within the world, we had to be very careful or cautious. Shmuel wouldn't be explaining things to the Rebbe that the Rebbe already knows, or wouldn't be talking in an expository fashion within the world. So really, it was a very interesting process to walk that line. There were moments of Yiddish throughout the script that we opted not to translate. There's one that Shmuel says, where Albert explicitly says, "I don't know what that means," and Yiddish quotes are so wonderful and fascinating and bawdy. The translate, we were wondering if it was sort of going to be a Yiddish Easter egg. The translation is "Don't piss on my back and tell me it's raining," and we felt that one was a little bit too priceless to pass up incorporating in the script as Shmuel walks off.